Welcome back to the Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by co-host Jeff.
What up, Mark? You found me. Get it?
I have found you. You are not a missing person any longer.
No, I'm here.
Get it?
And some of our, characters this month have not been so lucky.
Ooh. Now that you've mentioned that, what is the theme this month?
Oh, the theme this month is missing persons. You probably could have gathered that. But yeah, we're watching movies where someone mysteriously disappears and the rest of the cast tries their best to find them before it's too late.
Now that we know what the theme is, what did we watch this week?
Well, we watched Prisoners. You should know that. You hopefully watched it. But we watched Prisoners from 2013. It's rated R. Runs for 2 hours and 33 minutes. This is a long one. And it is directed by Denis Villeneuve. I'm going to guess that I said nope.
Nope.
Denise?
It is Denis Villeneuve. He is a French-Canadian man.
Ah. Como está?
That's Spanish.
Yeah. It stars Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, as well as Viola Davis, Melissa Leo, Terrence Howard, Paul Dano. All are in this movie.
It's a stacked. That's Dylan Minnette, who you may know as the lead singer of the indie rock band, The Wallows. They're a pretty big deal.
I don't know them. I know him, though, because he was in Scream 5?
Scream 5. He was 13 Reasons Why.
I remember him from that.
And
he had a brief appearance on Lost, the television show Lost. I remember that.
That was a while back, though. He was a child.
Yeah.
But no, he's his band is really big in the teen pop rock sphere, and so this cast is really stacked.
Yeah, there were several moments where I was just sitting back and enjoying watching Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman act opposite each other, and just being like, this is
very good. This is probably our best Hugh Jackman acting performance that we've seen on the pod.
Oh, okay, but that musical.
I mean, the Greatest Showman is very good. It's one of our top films that we've watched on the pod. But as far as pure acting, I think this one is probably his top performance.
Yeah, he's pissed off a lot.
Well, he's pissed off, but it's very nuanced pissed off. So, anyways, the premise here is that Hugh Jackman plays the father of a girl that goes missing on Thanksgiving, and it's kind of a whodunit for the most part, and he spends the movie going through the stages of not grief, but just the stages of the emotions that come with your child going missing. You think you know what happened to them, or you think you know who took them or did something to them, but you're being kind of weighed down by the law, and that's the premise of the movie, is that Jake Gyllenhaal is the law in this movie, and Hugh Jackman is the one who has the most to lose here. And you said the runtime is 2.5, and it's a long movie, but it doesn't necessarily feel long, in my opinion.
There's two ways I could answer that. Did it feel long? Yes. But was I entertained? Also, yes.
Okay. I mean, I can get that. I can get behind that. If it feels long because there is a lot of dialogue here in this film, and it's a lot of procedural stuff, right?
Yeah.
There is a lot of Jake Gyllenhaal kind of going through, not the motions, but just doing his cop thing. And he's got to he's got to eliminate certain people as suspects, and along the way, the movie goes down those avenues. I mean, we get him stumbling upon a dead body in a underground space for a local church pastor, and that's has nothing to do with the story other than he's just he's crossing the.
Well, no, but the guy they find in the basement is important.
What? Right. I just don't know if we needed all of that.
There is a portion that you can take out.
Served up that I don't know if we needed it served up the way it was, but there's just there is certain parts of this movie where I'm like, okay, it's cool that we got this, but we didn't really need it.
I can give you some specifics because I don't disagree, but the part with the preacher and the guy in the basement, I actually liked that part and thought it was pretty good. And I also like the line where he's got the guy, he's like, I grew up in this, Catholic home for boys or whatever. You know the place. I'd love to beat your ass, right? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Added some depth to Captain Loki, whose name was Loki. And every time I heard it, I'm like, he's going to be the bad guy. Or something. Loki the trickster, something. He wasn't, but...
There's got to be a reason, and I didn't really look it up, but there's got to be... So there's a lot of things in this film that, not really red herrings, but are just...
No, there's the biggest problem with this movie is the one red herring. I hated that. So...
Are you talking about Paul Dano's character?
No. Paul Dano, I guess, was a red herring in the end, but I was fine with that one. It was the other character that they went and followed, and it was played by, I don't know his name, but...
Dalmatian.
He was in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But they go and follow him, and you're getting the idea that this is the real killer, and that Hugh Jackman has the wrong guy locked up that he's torturing to try to get answers. And then they get into his house, and there are a lot of things. I felt like this director took a lot from like David Fincher's Seven and Zodiac.
Sure.
So very David Finchery.
Yeah.
And they go into the house, and the guy's got maps drawn all over the wall. So that's like super serial killery. And then he finds the suitcases full of snakes and clothes, which is weird. And they pretty much pin it on this guy, and the guy confesses, which has happened before. People have confessed to things that they, just for notoriety, I guess. But then he kills himself, and then it's kind of over. My problem here was just how much he kind of fit the bill. Like, it was they went so hard with the maps thing. Yeah. And the maps thing are important, but it's like too much to be not the guy is the best way I can put it. And then it ended up being a waste of time in a movie that's 2 hours and 2.5 hours long. I felt like that sequence that leads, Jake Gyllenhaal off the scent of the actual killer for a long period of time, but he's been off the scent of the actual killer. He never actually figures anything out, right? Like, he doesn't figure shit out, despite him being a pretty great detective and entertaining and all, but he never busts the killer. He just kind of happens upon it,
Well, yeah, there's a lot of just that things that happen by chance in this movie that end up leading to bigger things in the story. But one of the things that really didn't bear any fruit in the movie, but is alluded to a lot, is Hugh Jackman, the Doomsday Prepper. And I really didn't understand. And this is like my fourth or fifth time watching this movie, and spoiler, I really do enjoy this movie. But watching it with a critical lens, I didn't necessarily understand why Hugh Jackman was this, why he believed the things that he believed, why he was doing the things, why he was amassing things in the basement. And it's, and he's religious. He's a religious man. And at the beginning of the movie, he takes his son hunting, and they end up killing a deer, and they end up actually eating the deer on Thanksgiving. And I thought that was okay. He's telling his son that, hey, if we're gonna kill something, we're gonna utilize what we do or what we kill, and for the betterment of us. And then we get certain scenes in the film where he goes down to the basement when he's looking for his daughter, and we see the gas mask.
Yeah. And
we just see he's amassed a lot of food and just different things that would go along, like if you're watching a zombie apocalypse movie. And then that never really bears any fruit. In the rest of the film is that he's just a doomsday prepper, and we're just left with, why is he this person? And I felt like that was a really big letdown for me, watching this with a critical lens, is because I didn't really pick up in the other times I've watched this film that hey, he is this person that believes that the end is coming.
Right.
And to me, I was just like, I wanted more. I wanted that to pay some, I wanted him to reap the fruit of that. In the film, is because, like,
you think that all of his preparation skills are what helped him build the contraption that he keeps Paul Dano in.
Yeah, right, and that does. You connect the dots there, and that is fine, right?
Calm down with your praise.
But I just think, like, as a dad, and both me and you are dads. I don't think anything here in the film that Hugh Jackman's character does, or his emotions, are out of line.
You don't think anything he does in the film is out of line?
No, absolutely not.
So you don't think the capture and torture of Paul Dano was a problem? All good here.
If I think that man took my daughter, and he's the only one that knows where she is.
You think that, and we find out that he did not.
Well, yeah, but that's at the end of the movie,
right?
Know?
I'm not saying.
But no, I mean, I understand. I understand why he did what he did.
No big deal. Or like even giving it the thumbs up is what I'm kind of have a hard time with.
Listen, man,
because it turns out that young man was innocent in all ways, not only innocent, but a victim himself.
Yeah, right, correct. And that's where the crisis of, I don't know how to feel now. But, like, neither did Hugh Jackman's character, right? He didn't know all that. He was just trying to get the information that he thought that this person had out of this person, because he was trying to save his daughter. He was trying to locate his daughter because he thought that this person was the only one that knew where his daughter was. And, like, at face value, I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. And that there's things that, like, you or somebody else would say, ethically that's wrong. I was like, well, I don't really view it that way. It's because, like, if I'm trying to locate my kid and save my daughter, that may be something that I would actually do, is to, like, nobody else in this world other than my family matters. And so, like, there is that side of me that, like, I identify with Hugh Jackman's character, where he's just like, hey, I'm just trying to save my kid. And I get it. Now there is the question at the end is like, ooh, you fucked up. But at the time, I can't say that I wouldn't do the same.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but that doesn't make it okay.
I mean, that's for if you believe in God and everything else to judge you on. But if it leads me to my kid and I end up saving my kid, then sure, everything was worth it.
Yeah, and I guess in this movie it did.
Right. And so that's the thing, is that when the movie's going through all these different plot decisions, and you see it, like, you can see the crisis of ethical feelings, or moral feeling, all that by Terrence Howard's character, right?
He's really good in this movie too.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. This movie, everybody in this movie is fantastic. Like, I mean, right down to the side characters and the bit parts. It's just, everybody's very good. But like Terrence Howard, like, Hugh Jackman comes to Terrence Howard's character and he goes, I got to show you something. And he takes him to the apartment building and he shows him Paul Dano, and Terrence Howard's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And Hugh Jackman's just like, hey, he took our kids. He knows where they're at. Let's get the information out of him. And Terrence Howard is like reluctant to, but then like goes, he says, hey, you've got a point. This person might know where my kid is. We need to get that info. And he doesn't want to. You can clearly tell that Terrence Howard's character does not want to participate. But he does.
He's not having a good time.
No, he's not. But like, he goes about it. And then what I really loved about the story here is that Viola Davis's character finds out, and then is like, "Hey,
she's more into it than him." Like,
yeah, and so like that,
he thought he was going to get in trouble with his wife, but she's like, hell yeah. I mean, not really. Like, she stomach it too. But.
Right. She does. She essentially says, "Hey, we got to do what we got to do," and that to me, those are real. Emotional consequences of the actions. It's like, hey, you either lean into it or you fall away from it. But like, Viola Davis's character is just like, hey, yeah. We gotta get this info right. So I really love the decision making in the story by a lot of these characters, and it did seem that Loki, to me, was a more just complete. Hey, he wasn't completely good like all the way through.
He took that. I was going to say while I was watching it, we might have to spend some time in the police corner because he does some things that are.
Illegal? Yeah.
Yeah. Like that.
Fourth Amendment violations? Yes.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I forget what small, I think I read that it's a made up town in somewhere in the plains of Michigan or whatever. I don't know. But he does things that are ethically questionable. But he never crosses that line to where we're like, are you kind of this gray character? It's always presented that he's a good character. He just operates kind of sometimes in the gray. I never once felt like he was a gray character that, like, my question was, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? I always felt like he was a good guy. He just did some things that were questionable, but they were always to get the bad guy.
Yeah. And he rightly, although sort of, he wrote off Paul Dano pretty quickly because they just didn't have evidence and all of that, but they never looked at the old lady that Paul Dano stayed with.
Right.
And I'm wondering, like, because they had his name, but she kind of that's right, because she kind of tells him how to write his name out.
Yeah.
But that's not really his name.
Right. There's a lot of like things embedded into dialogue in the film that, like, if you go back and watch it, you're like, oh, okay, that's a clue. There's a clue here that that she, the what's her face, Melissa Leo's character, that she, either tells Hugh Jackman or she tells Jake Gyllenhaal's character. I think it's when Jake Gyllenhaal shows up the first time to kind of like, hey, I just like to see what's his face's bedroom. And she's like, oh yeah, that's, my late husband's person, blah blah blah. And she says something like she mentions that her son or her other son was died of whatever.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the film, she's telling Hugh Jackman that, yeah, he died of cancer, and now we go around taking these kids because we're mad at God.
But they were taking them before,
right? But it's alluded to that the death of their actual biological child is what led them to take all of these kids. And it's just, there's dialogue here that if you aren't paying attention, or you blink, or you're half listening or whatever, you can miss. And it's, it plays a factor into the overall story of why this lady and her late husband were doing the things they were doing.
Yeah, I wasn't super into her motive. Like, I don't know, it's easier for me to believe that a man is doing the terrible shit for, sexual reasons or just being a piece of shit. When it's a woman doing it, I always find it a little tougher to buy. I know it's happened, but it always is
Sure.
like, I need a little bit more than what I'm getting. I guess that it's true. She could just be this bloodthirsty monster, and I just need to accept it. And I'm just being sexist because women can be serial killers too.
Right. Well, I think a lot of it's harder to believe that a grieving mom could be this evil person than it would be that what's his face, Bob Taylor, the Dalmatian character. Then he would be the bad guy, the main bad guy. And so like I appreciate the red herring there, and is because it is harder to get behind a mom who lost a child being the bad guy. And so like there is that
so she lost the child to cancer, right?
Yes.
And so that's why she kills kids.
Well, she's mad at God.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, if you're...
I mean, I guess it wouldn't make sense. Like, at no point would I be like, hey, this makes sense. But...
Well, I think the motivation for her is that, hey, I'm mad at God, and so I'm just going to go kidnap kids, and, I don't really get behind why she the Alex Jones, like why she took him and then all of a sudden like
didn't kill him,
adopted him,
I guess.
Right, and it could be because maybe he's on the spectrum, or has this mental disability. I don't know. It just that didn't really match up to me, but like her being mad at in a religious fashion, then and lashing out that way kind of makes sense to me, I guess. If she's somebody that was religious to a point, now she's not. I don't know.
I mean, she would be, because and I don't feel like it's like religion is heavy in the film. Like, he's listening to religious stations. He's got an ichthys on his car, which is the little fish symbol that Christians sometimes have on their car.
Yeah.
And, but I never feel like anything comes of it. He does spend some time praying, like when he's not murdering, but torturing the guy. And so I will say, as much as we've been kind of maybe not shitting, but critiquing, this movie is very intense in the sense of like there's a lot of tension.
Yeah.
And like I like the scene when Terrence Howard and Viola Davis get home, and that creepy guy is in the house, and they're in the car talking, and you're just waiting. You're like, hey, get inside. Something's going on. You need to get inside. You're going to lose another kid. I also like that when they set that up and they find the missing kid's clothes at this guy's house, that was set up properly for them to still be alive. So there's some smart things, but I think this movie does a great job with tension for sure. Yeah.
And Denis Villeneuve, his films, and this is one of his earlier films. This film is over a decade old now, which was hard for me to wrap my brain around. But he's gone on to have a very great filmmaking career, and you get that, like, there's cinematography here that is just very cool. Very, it sets the mood. It adds to the tension, like you were just talking about. Like, when Paul Dano, he's at the gas station, and then he goes and he tries to run in the RV and crashes into the tree, and then the cops are around the RV, and there's radiator smoke coming from the engine. And it's very well shot.
This movie is extremely well shot.
Yes.
There's some stuff that is so good. Like when he goes at the end, when Gyllenhaal goes into the house for the first time and the camera stays outside.
Yeah.
And you see him in the living room and stuff. It's very stunning. And then there's the shot in the house, like when I said Terrence Howard and Viola Davis get home, and they can't find their oldest daughter, and she finally reveals herself, and they all kind of slump to the ground. The camera kind of slumps with them. There's a lot of the really sharp storytelling with the camera that I really liked.
Yeah. And so all of that adds to the tension. And so, like, we talk about the runtime behind the film, and like it is long. But like all this adds to the experience of watching it. And when you start talking about the experience of like how you felt, what characters you got behind, what characters you identified as, hey, I don't know. I really think that the runtime kind of fades to the background, and you're invested as soon as Hugh Jackman's character abducts Paul Dano and takes him, and builds and it starts torturing him.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're just like, I gotta see what happens. The runtime didn't matter at that point. And
I would say it didn't matter. I did feel it still, where I would be like, I would check to see how much longer was in the film, and I'm like, bitch, I'm not even halfway through. How much more is there? But a lot of times I was like, oh, sweet, there's a lot more of this really intense movie, because it is a good movie.
Yeah.
And so that was more of my standing when I looked at the time left. So I did feel it, but I was also like happy that there was more left.
Yeah. It's an interesting kind of a litmus test of what makes a movie entertaining and watchable, but also not overly long. And Denis Villeneuve, he is a man that loves his long movies. If you go back and look at his filmography, most of them are 2.5+ hours long. And he just loves to tell the long, not long-winded, but like maybe intricate story that it kind of dives into a lot of everybody. And his most recent film, Dune 2 or whatever it was.
Oh, he did Dune. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm not super familiar with his work, so I mean, I really like this, but I'm not super familiar with his work.
Yeah, I mean he what is
Blade
the
Runner
other?
2024.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sicario,
Yeah,
Arrival.
Sicario.
They're all not terribly long, but they're still not brisk films. And he's got his thing. This is how he tells stories, and I think every single film of his is pretty well received. I don't know that he's had a stinker. So, it's just there's a lot of really good things here. But let's talk about the ending.
Yes.
What did you? So, did you expect what happened at the end? Hugh Jackman going to the house, Melissa Leo's
dumb,
character.
Man, yeah, I mean, he's going to the house, and he's been pretty much, I don't want to say in control, but feels like he's been in control the whole time. And so much so he gets a bit of hubris, and he goes into this house with someone who he now suspects is a killer, and thinks that he's in control, and he brings his bag of toys, a la,
Right.
the clown, Art the Clown, and she has a gun and just completely trumps him right away. And it's like, dumbass. Like, he had a gun in there. Why would you not lead with that? I don't know. Like,
right.
He didn't, and he's been so, such a loose cannon the whole movie, so impulsive. I felt like that's what he should have started with. So I did find it still appropriately tense. Especially, when she's got that syringe she's going to put in this little girl, and you're waiting for Jake Gyllenhaal to stop it. And he does, that was appropriately tense. Now, as far as like them not really finding, because Hugh Jackman's in this hole in the ground under the Firebird, and then you get the little whistle. And so I guess we're assuming that he got him out alive, which he probably did. But I don't know. Because there's a lot of things I still want to know. What happened to Hugh Jackman after this? Because his ass needs to be in jail.
Well, I mean, that's Loki's conversation with Hugh Jackman's wife. She's like, "Hey, is he gonna go to jail?" And Loki was like, "Yeah." But I guarantee you that Hugh Jackman, knowing his daughter's life, is like, okay, yeah, I'm good with it. But also it's ambiguous, right? It is, at the end of the film, Loki is kind of looking out in the backyard of Melissa Leo's house, and he hears the faint blowing of the whistle, right? Now I don't know how Hugh Jackman survived a week.
Was it a week?
I think it was.
He would be dead.
It was close to a week.
You cannot survive a week without water.
I don't know, man. It was, but like, how did the newspaper get all this information so quickly? And like,
well, that was the other thing. Is like exactly. That didn't make sense to me.
I think it had been a couple of days at least, and Hugh Jackman's blowing this whistle, and Loki hears it. So I mean, it's implied that, yeah, Hugh Jackman is alive and likely does get pulled out of this hole that he's in the backyard. But I mean, I guess it could be left up in interpretation that he's in such bad shape that maybe he doesn't survive. After Melissa Leo's character throws him down in the hole, she's like, "Hey, you might want to put a tourniquet on yourself to stop yourself from bleeding out." So, like, did he do that? Did he was he shot like so bad in the leg that he was bleeding out? Like that, there are questions there.
Yeah, big time.
But
yeah.
So what do you think of the dead body in the priest basement being Melissa Leo's husband?
I liked it all right. So, like, was this guy a famous killer? And like, what I didn't understand was the red herring, that guy that they ended up capturing with all the mazes and shit. Was he like a fan, and he was like reenacting this shit?
It could have been how I took it. It was a kind of a maybe like a group, or I don't want to call it a cult or anything like that, but it gave me those type of vibes where because the guy in the priest basement, he had the same necklace that the guy with the snakes had.
Yeah.
And so like it had to have been some sort of group that believed whatever they believed. And, the priest says that that guy in his basement confessed to killing 16 kids or whatever it was. And so like it's never overtly said, but the threads there are that it's Melissa Leo's husband. And this is why she's taking up that mantle.
Yeah.
I thought the breadcrumbs there are pretty good.
Are they? I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Like,
right.
I do like that they did show that Paul Dano was innocent, and that, Hugh Jackman was fucking with this poor victim of a kid. I mean, he was an adult, but he had a 10-year-old brain, as they said.
Right.
And I like that Hugh Jackman doesn't get away with it, and he shouldn't. I don't know. There was something at the end that left me a little unsatisfied, despite enjoying the bulk of the run. Like I said, I didn't like the stuff with the map guy, and the ending kind of was like, I don't know. I like the thrill of it. I like of them going in and him saving the little girl and all of that. And I really love the drive to the hospital. I thought that was so good. There at the end when he's driving the little girl to the hospital was filmed immaculately.
I kept wondering. I was like, bro, why do you keep wiping your eyes? Just like put your hand on the part that's bleeding. Like stop the what are you doing? Like stop wiping and just put your hand there. Put something to stop,
man.
And I did. I agree with you. Very well done. And I loved how, like, at the last second, he's like, "Oh shit, there's the hospital," and he just swerves to get in.
Yeah. Did you like how nobody respected the fact that his lights were on?
Well, I mean, they're
like
little,
he was
they're
driving
little
through
baby
traffic
lights.
and weaving, and nobody moved.
They're little
Everybody
baby
was like,
lights.
Fuck this cop.
Well, he's got the low profile lights and the visor level of the inside
But he's
of the
riding
car.
in a Crown Vic.
Right.
And the light, if a light's come on a Crown Vic, I'm probably moving. Now that might be my mistake. Someone impersonating a cop. If they did it in a Crown Vic now, I wouldn't necessarily pull over. But
right.
I think this was set back a little while ago.
It was when Crown Vics were actually still used as police cars,
and the cell phones weren't like smartphones yet.
Right. So no, I just I do like that Loki is not a perfect character. I
like the character a lot too.
No, I do.
When it ended, I was like, I would watch a serial of Loki crime dramas.
Yeah.
Like if this kind of slightly unhinged detective goes around fucking shit up, I would watch that. I would watch more Detective Loki movies.
There is a recent crime procedural called on Apple TV called Presumed Innocent. starring Jake Gyllenhaal. That's pretty good. It's not he's not unhinged kind of like this, but Jake Gyllenhaal is a wonderful actor, and I think he plays these type of characters really well. And because he gives the character a lot of responsibility with their emotion, and he's that way throughout this film. And he's unhinged to a point. He goes right to the line, doesn't really cross the line, and you're rooting for Jake Gyllenhaal to solve this crime, but you're also like, ooh, that might not have been the best thing to do there, Jake.
I see Jake Gyllenhaal stuff I'm usually on board with, though.
Yeah.
Like, what
I am
movie,
too.
Was it you and I that watched a movie? I have so many movie podcasts, I can't keep it in my mind. But there's a movie I watched where, like, the cop... Oh, no, it was The Wicker Man. That's right. It's where the cop is just, like, so pushy in this place where he doesn't have jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have evidence of any wrongdoing. And I felt like this character was better about that. Like, he was pushy in a way that I respected more because he was pushy against people he knew were kind of unsavory. And like when he went into that pastor's house and, that sort of thing, I was more on board with his sort of, unhinged nature as opposed to that of the cops in Wicker Man. I
could see Jake, if they ever remade The Wicker Man again, I could see Jake Gyllenhaal playing that character really well. It's because he
to do it again. Won't do it again.
Every 30 or so years, they just keep redoing
Make another one. Well, it's up to you.
But no, he does play that. And he does give kind of 90s Nick Cage vibes a little bit.
He's a much better actor, though.
I agree. But he can really become. He can step out of like that good actor and kind of go into that camp. At any given time with whatever the role is, and I think Jake Gyllenhaal would play. And it's been a while since we've seen... I actually don't know if I've ever seen Jake Gyllenhaal play camp, but I think he could do it really well. And I'd actually watch that movie.
Yeah. I'd rather a better straight take of it. But.
All right. Anyways, Jeff, do you recommend The Prisoners?
Man,
or
about
Prisoners?
like an hour and 40 minutes into this movie or so, I would have been a firm yes. I think I still am going to recommend it because I think there is a ton of good here. And the acting is superb and the cinematography is superb and the story is intense. So I will recommend this one.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I mean, like I said, this is one of my favorite films of the past. Probably, it's my favorite Denis Villeneuve's film, and he's done a lot. So I agree with you. It is long, and it is not a chore, but it's kind of there's a lot of story here, and so staying invested is a big ask, but. As long as you are invested, which isn't hard to do with these characters and these actors, you're getting a treat as far as the film goes. I would like to see this director with these actors again, and maybe not the same story, but like a different story. And it's a reminder that, man, Hugh Jackman, he's a fantastic actor. I really love Hugh Jackman in this movie.
Yeah, he's really good, and he definitely feels dangerous.
Right.
I feel like he's dangerous.
Well, I feel like he has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And those type of characters are the best ones to tell a story around. I think is because they'll do anything, and I think he shows that he's willing to do pretty much anything in this film, and the film's better for it. So I'm going to recommend it as well. We may see this one next week when my top 5 makes its appearance.
Yeah, I need to look over our movies from this year and start working that out, top and bottom 5s.
But anyways, Jeff, what are we watching next week?
Well, next week we're watching A Simple Favor starring Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. And then that will be our annual finale where we'll rank our top and bottom 5. And then we'll prepare for next year, which is what I'm going to be calling the 1 degree, the year of 1 degree, where we will take a movie. In this case, it'll be A Simple Favor. And then I will pick a movie within 1 degree of that. Maybe as the same actor, director, writer. Basically, my rule of thumb is I can click one thing on IMDb and bring up that movie. That's what we're going to do. And I don't mean all the crap on the side for ads and shit. I mean, it's got to be related to the movie. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I really think 2024 was a really good year for us as far as film goes.
I'd have to go back and look. You know,
just off the top of my head, thinking about what we've watched in the past 5 months, and I'm like, oh, we watched some really good movies. I don't
know if I can remember them. Like my brain is mush now.
I think you will probably feel the same as far as, I mean, I think it's certainly better than last year.
Yeah. Well, in our top and bottom, last year we had some stickers, but our top and bottoms always are pretty different because our tastes are very different. So that's always the fun part when we get into that.
What else is fun is you hitting the subscribe button when it pops up if you're watching on YouTube. And if you want to follow the podcast on your favorite social media platforms, we're at Movie Draft House. You can find us on your favorite social media platform. We're on all of them, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, right here on YouTube. So give us a like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss any future content right here on the podcast. And Jeff, you want to tell them where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find my 2 other podcasts. Good Lord, no wonder everything's a blur. What is this? I'm on the Movie Draft House today. So the other one would be chronologically. We're getting ready to start our new season following the works of Quentin Tarantino.
Yep.
And then my other podcast called All Things Being Sequels about to start here in the new year, where we're taking a look right now at the movies in the series of the Leprechaun. Oh, God. Children of the Leprechaun. But anyway, you can tell that I do that's it.
Yeah.
Find those wherever you get your pods, and that's all you can find me on.
Cool.
Isn't that enough?
It is enough. 3 podcasts is a lot.
Some would say too many, but I only have to edit one of them, which is how I keep my sanity.
So anyways, join us next week as we wrap up the year by watching A Simple Favor and giving you our top 5 and our bottom 5 films of the year. It's always a hoot. We always it's always somewhat different, and I look forward to seeing what list you got. But Jeff, any last words?
Not one. I'll see you next time.